The iron collar around Sarah's neck is heavier than the chains binding her wrists, not because of its weight, but because of what it represents, or rather, what it doesn't represent. She stands on the auction platform in the center of the trading post, her bare feet cold against weathered wood. Around her, other slaves display their marks proudly: the crescent moon of a seer, the crossed axes of a warrior, the flame of a fire wielder, each mark glowing faintly beneath their skin, proof of their worth, their power, their value. Sarah has nothing. Her skin is blank, unmarked, ordinary. "Next lot," the slaver calls out, his voice bored. He doesn't even bother with a description. What's there to say? She's 23, healthy enough, but utterly powerless. In a world where magic defines everything, she might as well be invisible. The crowd barely glances at her. A few merchants whisper among themselves, shaking their heads. Marked slaves fetch thousands of gold pieces. Warriors, seers, healers, their investments, tools that can transform a household or army. An unmarked slave? She's just another mouth to feed. "Starting bid 5 silver, the slaver announces, his tone suggesting even that's generous. Silence, the kind that makes Sarah's cheeks burn with shame. 3 silver then. The slaver's frustration bleeds through. Come now, she can clean, cook, basic labor. A portly merchant steps forward, his calculating eyes roaming over her like she's livestock. 1 silver, he says flatly, and that's being charitable. Unmarked trash isn't worth more. Sarah forces herself to breathe steadily. She's heard worse, been treated worse. After her village was destroyed by raiders 6 months ago, she's learned that survival means swallowing pride and accepting whatever fate offers. 1 silver from Master Brennan, the slaver says quickly, relief evident in his voice. Any other? 10,000 gold. The words slice through the marketplace like a blade through silk. Sarah's head snaps up. Every person in the trading post turns toward the voice, and the crowd immediately parts. Not by choice, but by instinct, the way prey scatters when a predator enters the clearing. He walks through the gap in the crowd with absolute authority. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the lethal grace of someone who's never doubted their right to command. His dark cloak billows behind him, and even from a distance, Sarah can feel the power radiating from him like heat from a forge. His mark glows beneath his skin, a crown of thorns wrapped around his forearm, pulsing with dark silver light, the mark of an alpha king. The slaver has gone pale. "Your Majesty," he stammers, dropping into a hasty bow. Forgive me, we weren't expecting 10,000 gold," the Alpha King repeats, his voice cold and final. His eyes, storm gray and piercing, fix on Sarah for the first time. "For the unmarked girl." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. 10,000 gold would buy a dozen marked warriors, a team of seers, an entire household of power-wielding slaves. For her? It makes no sense. The merchant who bid 1 silver gapes like a landed fish. "Your Majesty, surely there's been some mistake. She's unmarked, powerless, not worth—" "Are you questioning your king?" The Alpha King's voice drops to a dangerous quiet. The merchant pales and stumbles backward. "No, Your Majesty, of course not." The Alpha King steps onto the platform. Up close, he's even more intimidating. His face is all hard angles and sharp lines, his expression unreadable. But his eyes, they study Sarah with an intensity that makes her breath catch. "What's your name?" he asks. She should lower her gaze, should show proper deference, but something about his tone makes her meet his eyes. "Sarah, Your Majesty." "Can you read, Sarah?" The question surprises her. "Yes, Your Majesty, and right. My mother was a scholar before." She stops, the memory still too painful. Something flickers across his expression, not quite sympathy, but something close. "Good." He turns to the slaver. "Process the sale. Now." Within minutes, money changes hands. The iron collar is removed from Sarah's neck, only to be replaced by a leather one, supple, well-made, bearing the king's crest embossed in silver. A mark of his ownership. A tall woman with sharp features and warrior's braids steps forward. "I am Captain Lyra," she says curtly. "You'll come with me." Sarah glances back at the Alpha King, but he's already walking away, surrounded by guards. He doesn't look back. The journey to the capital takes 5 days. Sarah rides in a supply wagon with other servants, none of whom will speak to her. She catches their whispers, though. Why would he buy unmarked trash? 10,000 gold, it's madness. Maybe she's got hidden power. Maybe it just hasn't manifested yet. But Sarah knows the truth. Power manifests by age 15, marked clearly on the skin. She's 23. If she had any magic at all, it would have shown itself years ago. The capital rises from the plains like a mountain of stone and steel. The royal fortress dominates the skyline, massive towers reaching toward the sky, walls thick enough to withstand sieges, battlements bristling with guards whose marks glow in the fading sunlight. Inside, the fortress is a labyrinth of corridors and chambers. Captain Lyra leads Sarah through passages lit by magical lanterns, past rooms where marked servants perform their duties with effortless power. A fire wielder lights hearths with a gesture. A stone shaper repairs a cracked wall with a touch. A windcaller sweeps corridors clean with a wave of her hand. Sarah, with her blank skin and ordinary hands, has never felt more worthless. "You'll work in the archives," Lyra says, stopping before a heavy oak door. "The king requires someone to organize his collection of historical texts, someone who can read ancient scripts." The archives are vast. Odika, circular chamber 3 stories tall, walls lined with shelves containing thousands of volumes. Books and scrolls overflow from every surface, stacked in haphazard piles that suggest decades of neglect. "The last archivist died 2 months ago," Lyra explains. "He was marked. A knowledge keeper. His magic let him organize and recall information instantly." She gives Sarah a measuring look. "You'll have to do it the hard way." "I understand, Captain." Lyra's expression softens slightly. "The king doesn't make foolish decisions. If he chose you, there's a reason, even if the rest of us can't see it yet." Over the following weeks, Sarah loses herself in the work. The archives are chaos, but it's chaos she can manage. Ancient texts mix with recent reports. Military histories sit next to philosophical treatises. Magical theory blends with agricultural records. She develops a system, categorizes by subject, then by date, creates an index she can reference. It's slow, methodical work, the kind marked servants never have to do because their magic makes everything instant and effortless. But Sarah finds satisfaction in it, in taking something broken and making it whole again. She sees the king occasionally. He passes through the archives sometimes, retrieving specific texts with the kind of precision that suggests he knows exactly where everything should be, even in the chaos. He never speaks to her beyond brief acknowledgments, but she feels his gaze sometimes, studying her when he thinks she's not looking. One evening, she finds a note tucked between 2 volumes. "Meet me in the eastern garden at sunset." "'Kay." Her heart hammers as she makes her way through the fortress. The eastern garden is small, private, accessible only through the royal wing. Guards let her pass without question, clearly expecting her. The Alpha King, Kyle, she's learned his name from other servants, stands by a fountain, his back to her. Without his formal armor, dressed in simple dark clothing, he looks younger, more human. "You wanted to see me, Your Majesty?" He turns, and for the first time she sees him smile. It transforms his face, softening the hard edges. "Walk with me." They move through the garden in silence for a moment. Then he says, "You've made remarkable progress with the archives. Captain Lyra tells me you've already organized 3/4 of the collection." "It's just cataloging, Your Majesty. Nothing special." "Kyle," he corrects. "When we're alone, call me Kyle." He stops, turning to face her. "Do you know why I bought you, Sarah?" She's wondered about this for weeks. "No, Your Majesty. Kyle. I assumed you needed an archivist, but 10,000 gold seems excessive for someone with no power." "I didn't buy you for your power." His storm-gray eyes hold hers. "I bought you because of what you lack." Confusion must show on her face because he continues, "I've spent my entire life surrounded by marked individuals, people with power, magic, abilities that make them valuable. But I've learned something about power. It corrupts. It makes people believe they're above others, that their magic makes them superior." He gestures to the fortress around them. "Half my court consists of people who think their marks make them worthy of respect, who use their magic to intimidate, to control, to prove their dominance. They've forgotten that power is supposed to serve, not rule." "But you're the Alpha King," Sarah says. "Your power." My power is meant to protect my people, all of them, not just the marked ones. His expression grows intense. Do you know what I saw when I looked at you on that auction platform? She shakes her head, unable to speak. I saw someone who survived without power, who endured in a world that values magic above all else, despite having none. That takes a different kind of strength, one I respect far more than any mark. Sarah's eyes burn with unexpected tears. No one has ever spoken to her like this, as if her lack of power is something worthy of admiration rather than shame. I need someone I can trust, Kale continues quietly. Someone who isn't drunk on their own magic, who doesn't serve me because my mark makes me powerful, but because... He trails off, uncertainty crossing his features. Because why? Sarah asks softly. Because they choose to. He takes a step closer. I freed you from that collar the day I bought you, Sarah. You're not my slave. You never were. You're free to leave whenever you want. The revelation hits her like a physical blow. Then why the leather collar? Why not tell me? Because I needed to know if you'd stay by choice. His voice is rough with emotion. If you'd choose to remain here, with me, without obligation. Sarah's mind races. She could leave, could walk away from the fortress, from the king, from everything. But even as the thought forms, she knows the truth. She doesn't want to leave. I'll stay, she whispers. Not because you paid for me, not because of your power, but because... She takes a breath. Because you're the first person who's ever made me feel like I matter, mark or no mark. Kyle's hand comes up to cup her cheek, his touch surprisingly gentle. You matter, Sarah. More than you know. When he kisses her, it's soft and questioning, as if he's afraid she'll reject him. But Sarah melts into it, her hands finding his shoulders, her heart pounding with an emotion she's afraid to name. Over the following months, their relationship deepens. Sarah continues her work in the archives, but now she also joins Kyle for evening walks, quiet dinners, conversations that stretch into the night. She learns about his childhood, about the weight of responsibility that's shaped him, about his dreams for a kingdom where power doesn't determine worth. He learns about her village, about her mother's love of books, about the raiders who destroyed everything she knew, about how she survived by being clever rather than powerful, resourceful rather than magical. The court notices, of course. Whispers follow her through corridors. The marked nobles sneer at the idea of their king consorting with unmarked trash. But Kyle doesn't hide their relationship. If anything, he makes it more public, taking her hand in court, defending her against veiled insults, making it clear that she's under his protection. The real trouble comes when Lord Varan, a powerful noble with a lightning mark, confronts them publicly in the Great Hall. Your Majesty, he says, his voice dripping with false concern. The court grows concerned about your attachment to the unmarked girl. It sends the wrong message to our enemies, makes us appear weak. Kyle's expression goes cold. Explain. Varn straightens, emboldened by the murmurs of agreement from other marked nobles. Our strength lies in our power, our magic. By elevating someone without a mark, you suggest that power doesn't matter, that magic is meaningless. Our enemies will see this as weakness to exploit. I see. Kale's voice is dangerously quiet. And tell me, Lord Varan, what has your lightning mark done for our kingdom lately? Varan blinks, caught off guard. Your Majesty, Because Sarah, without any mark at all, has organized our entire historical archive, created a system that allows us to access centuries of military strategy, diplomatic records, and territorial agreements within minutes. Information that has already prevented 3 border disputes from escalating into war. The hall falls silent. Sarah, standing beside Kale, feels her cheeks burn, but she doesn't lower her gaze. Meanwhile, Kale continues, his voice cutting, you use your lightning mark primarily to intimidate servants and show off at parties. So tell me again about weakness and meaningless magic. Varan's face flushes with rage. You go too far, Your Majesty. The marked are superior. It's the natural order. To suggest otherwise is to spit in the face of tradition. Tradition? Kyle's laugh is harsh. Tradition says marked individuals are inherently superior, deserving of respect and power simply because of their magic. But I've seen unmarked servants work harder than marked nobles. I've watched people without power show more courage, more integrity, more honor than those who rely on their marks to command respect. He steps forward, his own mark glowing brighter. Power doesn't make you superior. It makes you responsible. And anyone who uses their magic to belittle others, to enforce hierarchy rather than serve the kingdom, is worse than useless. The confrontation sends ripples through the court. Some nobles begin to reconsider their prejudices. Others dig in deeper, resentful of having their privilege questioned. But Sarah notices something else. The unmarked servants start to walk with their heads higher. The powerless guards begin to meet her eyes with something like hope. Even the marked servants who've been kind to her seem emboldened, less afraid to show compassion. Change doesn't come easily, though. Lord Varen and his allies plot in shadows, spreading rumors that the king has been enchanted, that Sarah possesses hidden power she's using to manipulate him. The whispers grow uglier, more dangerous. The attack comes on a moonless night. Sarah is alone in the archives working late when she hears footsteps. Before she can turn, something hard cracks against her skull. She wakes in darkness, her head throbbing, her hands bound. Voices drift through the black. Rid of her tonight. Make it look like an accident. The king will mourn, but he'll move on. Find someone appropriate. And if he investigates? He won't, not if we do this correctly. The unmarked girl fell, struck her head on the stone, a tragic accident. Who would question it? Terror claws at Sarah's throat, but she forces herself to think. The bonds around her wrists are tight, but not impossible. She works at them slowly, ignoring the burn of rope against skin. It's almost dawn. We should finish this. Footsteps approach. Sarah closes her eyes, feigning unconsciousness, even as her heart hammers against her ribs. Then, a roar that shakes the stone walls. "Sarah!" Kyle's voice, raw with fury and fear. The sound of fighting erupts, crashes, grunts, the hiss of magic being unleashed. Sarah's eyes snap open to see chaos. Kyle tears through her captors like a force of nature, his mark blazing with power, his strength amplified by rage. Lord Varen stands at the center, lightning crackling between his fingers. "You've become weak, Your Majesty." Soft. "This girl has corrupted everything you built." "She saved it," Kale snarls. "She showed me what real strength looks like. Their battle is terrible and magnificent, lightning against raw power, magic against determination. But Kael is the Alpha King, and his fury is absolute. When it's over, when Varen and his conspirators lie defeated, Kael rushes to Sarah's side. His hands shake as he unties her bonds, his eyes searching her face desperately. "Are you hurt?" "God, Sarah, I thought—" His voice breaks. "I'm all right," she whispers, touching his face. "Kyle, I'm all right." He pulls her against him, his whole body trembling. "I almost lost you. I almost—" He can't finish, just holds her tighter. "You didn't," she says softly. "I'm here. I'm safe." When he finally pulls back, his eyes are fierce. "Marry me." Sarah's breath catches. "What?" "Marry me. Not because I'm your king, not because of obligation or duty or anything except—" He takes her face in his hands. "I love you, Sarah. Your strength, your courage, your heart. Marry me because you love me too." Tears stream down her cheeks. "Yes, yes, I'll marry you." Their wedding transforms the kingdom. An alpha king marrying an unmarked woman. It shatters centuries of tradition, but it also opens doors that have been closed for generations. Unmarked citizens begin to rise to positions of merit rather than being dismissed outright. The court slowly changes, becoming more diverse, more balanced. Power still matters, but it's no longer the only thing that defines worth. On their wedding night, as they stand together on the balcony overlooking the Capitol, Kael wraps his arms around Sarah from behind. "Do you regret it?" he asks quietly. "Taking on all this responsibility, all this change?" Sarah leans back against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Never. You gave me something more valuable than any mark could provide." "What's that?" "You saw me," she whispers. "When everyone else looked through me, you saw who I really was. That's more powerful than any magic." He turns her in his arms, his storm-gray eyes soft with love. "You're wrong about one thing." "What?" You do have a mark. He places his hand over her heart. Right here. The mark of someone strong enough to change a kingdom without any power at all. The mark of courage and compassion and unwavering spirit. When he kisses her, the crowd below erupts in cheers, marked and unmarked together, celebrating a new era, one where worth isn't determined by magic, but by the content of one's character. And as Sarah wraps her arms around her husband, her king, her love, she realizes the truth. She was never powerless. She just needed someone who saw her strength for what it really was, the ability to endure, to persist, to triumph, not despite her lack of magic, but because of the qualities that magic could never give. In a world obsessed with power, she'd found something more valuable. She'd found love, she'd found purpose, she'd found home, and she'd found it all by simply being herself. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below with your favorite quote or moment, and you could win 1 month of free access to exclusive content, bonus stories, and more. Good luck.